Hey, it's Karri Flatla here for this week's Friday Fire at Remax Real Estate Lethbridge and karriflatla.com. How do we use comparables to price your home? Now, there's lots of mystery and discussion about how this works, but there shouldn't be. There's two aspects to pricing a home. There is the hard data about the real estate and what is there and what isn't, looking at what has sold and deciding from there, much the way maybe an appraiser might look at a house and decide what it's worth. And then there's a bit of realtor intuition in there, but I'm going to talk about the first part a little bit more. So the tendency for homeowners when I meet with them is that they've been surfing the internet, looking at realtor.ca, sometimes for months and months, and looking at what houses are listed for either nearby in their neighborhood or across the market area, houses that might be similar to theirs, and they just look at the list price. And we know that the list price doesn't necessarily reflect the value of the home. We don't know what that homeowner got for the home in the end, if they sold it at all. And a lot of listings never sell. Just keep that in mind, they expire. So a true comparable is required to price a home and do a market evaluation. What is a true comparable? A true comparable, first of all, has to be a sold property. So the listing down the street is not a comparable until it has sold and we know what a buyer was willing to pay for that house. That's a true comparable. A listing is not a comparable. A listing, while important to look at, is simply your competition. So of course, when we sit down in a listing meeting, we are going to look at a sample of what is out there in the market that a buyer might look at on the same day that they're looking at your house. And of course, we want to know what's out there for competition, because that is your competition and the buyer is only going to buy one house. Will they pick yours? And that's a whole other discussion. But a true market comparable is a sold property. And then we start narrowing it down from there. Are we going to look at everything that's sold in the last 5 years? No. We're going to look at what has sold, preferably as recently as possible. Generally, when I run a search for sold properties, when I'm doing a market evaluation, I try to go no more than 6 months back, because real estate markets change over time. What was happening 5 years ago in Lethbridge is not necessarily reflective of prices today. That being said, if we have a hard time finding comparables for your home because it's very unique, or there's something about the house that just makes it very different from everything else that's sold recently, we have to go a little bit further back, and then we sort of start making some adjustments from there in terms of time. The other thing that we look at when we're searching for comparables is we want to look at the square footage of the house. I like to get within 10% of the square footage. We also look at the year the house was built, because the age of a home dramatically affects the market value. Again, based on how many comparables I can find, I prefer to go no more than 5 years on either side of the age of your home. And then we also look at the condition of the homes that have sold. Condition is very, very important. Now, we can't always tell from photos the condition of the home, but sometimes you can do a little sleuthing, talk to other agents. The photos can tell you quite a bit. Condition matters because a buyer is going to pay more for a home that is in excellent, well-maintained condition. Pride of ownership means a lot to today's buyer, especially if they have a lot of homes to choose from. So age of the home, size of the home, and condition of the home, and the year it was built, all those things, that, and the location too, all those things matter when we're looking at comparables. A home that backs onto a beautiful green strip, all other things being equal, will sell more than the same house that does not back onto a green strip. So we have to place a value on all those things. Then we also look at basic features of the real estate. The important ones are things like, has the kitchen been updated? How big is the backyard? The size of the lot matters. Are there 3 bedrooms all on one floor? if we're in a market where we're trying to sell to young families, that kind of thing. So all of those things matter, but where the work comes in, and I always work through this with my homeowners, is how much will a buyer pay for a particular feature of the home over and above what's in your house? How much more will a buyer pay for something special in your home versus the same house down the street? And we really have to be logical about this, and it's hard to do because homeowners are so emotionally attached to the investments that they've made in their property, and rightfully so. It's where you live, and it is your home. It is where you've maybe raised your children, or you have memories in that home. But you have to be very objective, and it's hard to do, and a good realtor will help you with that. So if we have two very similar homes, yours and one down the street, built in the same year, they have similar configuration in terms of floor plan, you both have a double attached garage, a master bedroom over the garage, all of those things, but one house has a brand new kitchen and yours doesn't, or yours has a brand new kitchen and the other one doesn't. You may have spent $50,000 on that new kitchen. That doesn't mean that the market will pay you $50,000 for the kitchen. You have to put yourself in the shoes of the buyer and say, if I was a buyer, how much more would I pay for this house because of the new kitchen if the same house was available one block over without the new kitchen, but everything else was great? So it's a very difficult exercise for a lot of people, but it's important to do. So that's sort of the exercise we go through when pricing homes against comparables, is we're looking at what the comparable has that your house doesn't have, and what does your house have that it doesn't have, and then we adjust back and forth for that. Now, the second part of pricing is a little more tricky, and this is where really we're relying on the intuition and years of experience of your real estate agent. Quite often, I can look at a home and I just know if it's got that it factor. Your home may or may not have that it factor, doesn't mean it isn't a great home. But sometimes there are just features about the home and just the way that particular homeowner has put it all together and presented the home, and the way they've updated it, that kind of thing, just makes the home a little more special, and it's going to get a little more money. Even though the home down the street might be very, very similar on paper. So this is where you're really relying on the gut feel and intuition of your realtor. You can't only rely on that, but an experienced realtor who's very market savvy and understands the psychology of buyers will know where to place your home in the market against all the other listings out there. And it will be based on the logical things, but it will also be based on the way your home feels when they walk in, and just an overall mood or feeling that the house creates. Again, I know that that's not scientific, but that is actually how buyers make purchase decisions. So keep all of those things in mind. There's all the things you can put on a spreadsheet, and we can attach dollar figures to them, but then there's also just how the home presents. And remember, staging and presentation can help those things too if your home is a little bit weak on presentation. A great realtor will spend the time and resources to help you with that. So that's where we're at with comparables. If you have any questions about that process for pricing your home, just give me a call at 382-7335 or visit us at karriflatla.com. We'd love to hear from you and walk you through that process. In the meantime, have a great weekend, and we'll see you for next Friday Fire. Take care.